I am a bit nervous just to say hello again, because it seems like every time I tell you guys my name, that's when the gremlins attack and we can't see anything else. But let's try it again. Maybe the fourth or the fifth time is the charm. Actually, my name is Ali, so welcome to this part of the Safari Live. And here on camera with me I've got Craig, and together with all of the FC team we've been trying just to make sure that we get enough signal so that we can show you other parts of what's going on. We have no set direction for the moment. We're just driving around trying to see what we can find. I wouldn't be surprised if we found a little gremlin or two jumping around the road making fun of us, but for now it seems like we are safe. So let's just carry on driving along the road. We're heading north away from where everyone else is, just in the hopes to see if maybe Impala has come this side, because Tingana went the other way, and just any other general thing. Another steenbok, just as relaxed as the one we had yesterday, would be quite cool. But we shall see. It's been a bit of a late morning. Lee, you would like to know if we have springbok in this area and what it is. So the springbok is a small, I would say medium-sized species of antelope. They're probably just about the size of an impala, but they are slightly different. Actually, I might have a picture here on my book that I can show you. Whoop. Without breaking the car, that would be ideal. Let me just find it quickly for you. So we don't get them in this area. They tend to prefer areas that are a bit drier. So you'll find them in the Kalahari, towards the arid zones of Botswana and so on, but not in this particular area. If they were here, we would have to say that they are a bit lost. One of the main difference between them and Impala is that they have these beautiful markings, white markings along the side of their body and also along the side of their face. So it's quite easy to identify them once you know what you're looking for. Sorry, I just seem to be struggling with my book. Let's just go quickly, because for some reason it wants to give me the general German names. Unfortunately, not a language that I speak. Okie dokie, springbok. Oh, I was almost, look at it. I was actually on the right page. So, the book is quite nice to explain the difference between the Impala, which are the species, or one of the most common species of antelope we get here, and then the springbok that's down here. So if you see just by the background, a lot drier areas, not so bushy as the ones we have here. You see these beautiful, beautiful white coloration here and on the face, and it's this black spots over here. And the Impalas, you see, they don't have that. And the white part that they have is just underneath their belly. So an Impala would be white only from here downwards. Not exactly quite like the springbok, and then both male and female springbok have horns and the Impala don't. Other than that, also very, very pretty antelope to watch. They tend to jump, which is called pronking, when they're funny or just a way of expressing their fitness towards predators, doing a bit of exercise. And then you'll find they almost look like bunnies, I would say, because they go like bing, 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 and then they start jumping all around, and it's very funny when they do that. Very cute, especially when you see the little ones, because their legs are way too long for them. But yeah, if we ever found a springbok here, either we are lost, which I wouldn't be surprised, or the springbok is very, very confused. Alright, let's take this road, see where it would lead us. I'm super excited that you guys have managed to be with us for so long. Yay! We've got some ellies that have been walking down the road. It's funny, this morning everywhere we've gone, we've just seen lots of signs for elephants. So a lot of dung on the road, a lot of branches that have been pushed down, but no elephants itself. And it's quite funny because they are the biggest animal around here. So I wonder if they're just being a bit shy, or if they perhaps know that we're maybe going to get some rain this afternoon. Although, who knows? The weather lately has been quite funny. Megan, you would like to know what my favorite animal is. And I would have to say that I am completely biased towards rhinos. The reason for it is because I was given the great honor once in my life of helping raise a baby rhino that was orphaned. Thankfully, the mother wasn't poached, which was a very rare occurrence now in South Africa or in Southern Africa in general. But rhinos would be my favorites, and then close second, cannot decide between lions and leopards, because, you know, I think it depends on who's doing the most interesting thing. And elephants would come third, I suppose. That would be my scale of love for different animals. Alright. Sure Craig doesn't fall off.
Sorry, are we live? Oh, we're live. Sorry, we crash cut. We were having a discussion about gazelles when you came to us, so sorry about our crash cut. Mercifully, we were not discussing anything we shouldn't have been, and so that's good. Good. Now, what were we going to say? There was something of vital importance. Oh, yes, of course, we had two questions to answer. One from Vulpine Wolfgirl about whether or not plants are able to change their sex, if we have any plants that can change their sex. Vulpine Wolfgirl, I don't think so, but I stand to be corrected. I'll tell you why I don't think it's necessary. It's because most plants, of course, out here are either hermaphroditic, in other words, they're both male and female, or they are one or the other, but there are lots of each. And so I don't believe there's ever a real opportunity or necessity for them to change sex. So marula trees are dioecious, which means they're separately male and separately female. Some grasses, most grasses I think have got both. Just about all grasses I think have got both. So there are a large number of hermaphroditic plants. In a situation, I think this comes probably from a knowledge of some fish species that have or that are able to change sex, and it happens in a situation where there's a dominant male who has got a number of sort of wives, and when he dies, the biggest female then becomes a male. I think it might be the other way around. Is it the other way around? Because, of course, in an egg-laying species, it can be both ways. Let's just pretend it's that way. It doesn't really matter either way. What happens is, as soon as the dominant, the biggest one, dies, then its underlings, be they male or female, will then change. One of them, the biggest one, will then change sex and replace the dominant. I don't know how it works. I'm not sure how the biological mechanism happens, but that's sort of to maintain the social order that it happens, and obviously it helps to perpetuate the line of the fish that are involved, but I don't think it happens in plants. And then we had a question about whether or not we get carnivorous plants here. We have one carnivorous plant here, Caroline. That carnivorous plant belongs to Conoteagues. It is a Venus flytrap, and it lives in the camp with us. Other than that, there are no carnivorous plants that I know of out here. I suppose the closest thing to a carnivorous plant we might have would be something like the carrion plant, which stinks like meat but doesn't actually eat meat. And then we get something called, hang on a second, but I don't think we get it here. It's called a funnel plant or a funnel flower or something, and it's got water in it that attracts insects into it, and the insects then get caught, but inside the water are enzymes that will digest the insect. But I don't think we get them here. So I'm going to say no carnivorous plants in this particular area. All right, let me tell you what our plan is and what we've done. We've done the eastern boundary there. We're now coming sort of in a westerly direction down this road here, and we're going to go towards where we last had Horsana. There were no female leopard tracks there but for one. It crossed into Torchwood. It was old. Who it was, who knows. Let's head across to Tristan, who has got the very first animal that we saw today.
We do indeed. We have a mother hippo with its little baby. Now there's mom popping its head up, and baby is just off to the left hand side. There it is. Hello, little one. So you can see still staying very, very close to mom. Now I wonder if this is the little one that Brent found during the TV shows. I would imagine that it is, because it looks very small still. But isn't it cute? You can see it's using its mom to try and stay afloat. What you'll find is that they will actually suckle from underwater as well. So maybe it's gone down for a little drink now. She's moved away from other hippos that were close by, and she's moved sort of towards the shallows. And I wonder if it's maybe just a little bit more shallow that the baby can suckle a little bit easier, and that's why she's moved there. See her getting rid of all the water. So when these hippos go underwater, there will be water that collects in the ear, but the ear actually twists and turns to seal it off. And so when they come back up again, they've got to just shake their ears out to try and get rid of all that water. So that's why you see a lot of ears sort of flapping when they come up out of the water. So Rebecca wants to know, Rebecca in FC that is, wants to know how they suckle underwater and be underwater at the same time. Well, they take a breath, they seal their nostrils, then they go down and they just go and suckle from the mom. As much as you would do it on land, they're just able to do it underwater. There's no real difference. It's just that they're doing it underwater, and the reason why is because it's far less dangerous for her to be in the water and for the baby to be suckling there than it is on land. There are a number of predators on land that could potentially grab a little baby that's unawares, like hyena and leopard and lions, whereas in the water the only real thing that could be here would be a crocodile. But any crocodile that's stupid enough to get anywhere close to this hippo is going to get a hiding. So basically the little one will just seal the ears, seal the nostrils, go down, open its mouth slightly and latch onto the nipple and be able to then drink from there. So it's a pretty easy system for the baby. So Laura Moore, you're asking if hippos are solitary. Well, no, they're not. So we have this mom and baby, and just to the left of them is the rest of the pod that is close by. So they're just underwater at the moment. We can't see them, but they're a little bit further to the left, and they're just taking it very, very easy there as well. So you'll find that they are not solitary animals. The males can sometimes be solitary when they're young and they've been kicked out and they now have got to go find their own area. Oh, the heron's just caught a fish. Look over there, Senzo. I don't know if you can see that heron. It's got a fish in its mouth now. I don't know if it's swallowed it already. Oh, it's already swallowed it, unfortunately. But there was the green-backed heron that caught a little fish, so it had grabbed it and was busy swallowing it, but unfortunately it swallowed too fast for us. But I absolutely love these little herons. They are my absolute favorite. There we go, just washing it down now. And then these little herons are incredibly intelligent, so you'll find that they sometimes will even utilize things to be able to fish. So what that means is that they will utilize insects or bread or something like that to be able to put it on the water. And I know bread sounds funny, but I've seen it in places where people use camps and things like that, that they grab bread and then they go to the water and they put it on, and as the fish come to feed, they then grab those fish. In a system like this, they'll utilize more insects, so they'll grab an insect and they put it on the surface of the water, and as the fish comes to eat the insect, they grab the fish, which is absolutely incredible. So really amazing to watch, and it seems like it's eyed out something again. I wonder if it's going to try. Now it looks like it wouldn't be able to reach the water, but there we go. Did you see how far that neck extends? Absolutely incredible. So it looks like this small little bird, but as it pushes its head out, it's able to grab those fish and extend the neck in an incredible way. Absolutely amazing. Right, now we are off to somewhere quite special and we're being called on the radio, so I am going to try and answer them as much as possible. But getting back to our hippos, the young males will be sort of on their own, but as soon as they're big enough and strong enough, they'll then challenge for an area and take over a pod of hippos like this, and they will then become part of that pod. Ari. Sorry, I'm just live at the moment. Just confirm you leaving that sighting. Alright guys, so we're going to try and get off to where we're going to surprise all of you. Let's go back to Ali, who I think is still out, and she's got a little baby warthog. Go with that thing, sorry.
Right, so we've got over here two beautiful warthogs that just seem to be having their morning breakfast. Life doesn't seem too hard for them. They don't know what gremlins are and just enjoying a bit of a Monday stroll. For now, we can only see two, and my best guess would be that it's the mother, so the one that we can see right now, and then an older piglet, although I don't think it's a piglet anymore, or it shouldn't be classified as a piglet, because it is almost the size of the mother. And they're just in between this patchy grass, looking for either little seeds or roots or things that are popping up over there, just at the bottom. Definitely a piglet. Look at that young face. just having their breakfast. They are going, however, behind some trees, which is not the friendliest thing that they could do, but we'll forgive them just because they're so cute. The funny thing with warthogs is, hello, always very, very, very aware of what's going on around them. So I have no doubt that they can hear us, but because they're so used to human voices and vehicles and everything else, they're not really turning their attention towards us. But just now, when she was looking, you see something caught her attention, and then she just raises her head, looks around, and then puts her head down and carries on feeding. So they've got to be very alert of what they do, just because, as you can see, they feed with their heads down. So it's not easy for them to just see what's around them all the time, and they've got to rely on other sensors like their hearing just to find out what's happening and what's going on around them. Good thing for them is, now that you're seeing them from a distance, is just look at that camouflage. So imagine you are a lion or a leopard and they can only see in shades of black and white and perhaps even gray. So it allows them to blend better, because you wouldn't be able really to tell if you would see it all in black and white. The tree at the back would just make them all look like part of the tree, a dark shade maybe moving. So they've got a trick or two just under their sleeve to make sure that they survive. I believe our boy Hosanna was trying to hunt them yesterday, but they spotted him and then ran very, very, very quickly away from him. Funny, because it seems now like the youngster has completely disappeared. Even for us, he's become pretty invisible. So you see the top part of a warthog. It's also called a mane, and it's just got very, very long hair, and it allows them to blend better with the grass. But if they get spooked or anything, they normally have it just hanging like we would with our normal hair. But if they get a fright, or if they become very threatened, all of it raises. And the whole point for this is just to make them look bigger than what they really are, to try and intimidate whatever it is that it's coming against them. So a lot of the times, if they had to face a leopard or anything like it, poof, their tails go up if they start running, and their hair raises, especially if it's a battle between boys trying to get the favor of the female. I don't know if maybe if we go slightly forward we'll be able to see them. Consulting detective, you'd like to know how long the piglets stay with their mothers. So it depends if they're male or female, as far as I know. Normally the females all live in gregarious sounders, which is a name for an association or a group of warthogs, and the females will stay around with the mothers, and they won't really leave the area where they were born. So they will always be somewhere around, whereas the boys, then roughly when they're about 5-6 months old, they tend to be kicked out of their area, and then they just need to start looking for other places where to establish themselves, which is a clever way of nature of preventing them inbreeding, just breeding with other family members, and it allows for their genetic pool to always keep expanding and just bring different qualities into it. So these guys, I'm sure they were born sometime, or it was born sometime at the beginning of summer, because a lot of the warthogs had their young piglets, I would say around about November, December, maybe a bit later this year because the rains were slightly later. And they will probably stay with the mothers, I would say, until the beginning of winter maybe. And if they're boys, if they're girls, I wouldn't doubt if they manage to survive that we would see them with them until probably the next summer. You see, how amazing is that? It blends perfectly well with the camouflage, with all, with the grass, with all its hair. I think we've got some friendly Impala as well. Track, you'd like to know what is a warthog's biggest predator? There are a few things that will eat warthogs. One of the main predators being lions and leopards. So a lot of the times, because warthogs are diurnal animals, they live in burrows, so they go and hide during the night. But some very clever leopards are known to either patiently wait for them to come out in the morning, so they'll find a termite mound and they'll stay in there, wait for them to come, or a lot of the times they just while they're busy foraging around here, an animal patrolling, a lion and a leopard moving looking for their next meal, are able to spot them and then come to them or try and surprise them, so they would start stalking them and then jumping onto them. I have seen maybe more lions feeding on warthogs than I have seen leopards, and this is, I would say, mainly due to size. Warthogs can get quite big, so for a leopard it might be a bit trickier to try and bring them down. Also, as you must remember, the warthogs have very sharp tusks, so they come out of their mouth like this. They've got, you see, almost like a gigantic smile, and then they've got some others at the bottom. So very similar to hippos in a way. Every time they open and close their mouth, then they manage to sharpen the tusks, and it makes it hard for, imagine if you're a leopard or a lion and you're trying to get them and now you get hooked by this very sharp tusk. Very easily you'll be able to be cut and have quite a sustainable wound. So this is why, yes, they look like, it's just a pig and it's very easy to hunt and to eat, but they, like I said, they've got a few tricks up their sleeve, so it's not always an easy meal out there. They also have a bit of a temper, especially the males. They will take nothing from anyone, especially a lion or a leopard, and they can run very, very fast and potentially sustain that speed just slightly longer than a lion or a leopard would do. So this is why they have to, when they're trying to hunt them, they will go very slowly and try to approach them as much as they can, so that last stretch that's separating them is very short, so that they can keep up to them or keep up with them. Alright, I think our warthogs have completely disappeared into the background. Let's see if maybe we can find those friendly impala that were keeping us company just a little bit further down the road. Did you see where they were, Craig? Yeah. Alright, I'm sure we will be able to find some more friendly impala. There we go. I'm also just feeding. I think today the weather is just being a bit funny, and it seems like a lot of the animals are just going into the thickets where it's slightly warmer still, so they can keep warm and just also keep an eye out on the different things that are going on. But there we go. I'm not too sure how we're going to be able to see them though. You would see that they would be slightly friendlier being impala. Well, you can see them all around feeding with some of the hornbills. So sometimes you'll find that there's quite a nice feeding group of different species of animals in a particular area, and it'll be from birds and impala, warthogs, zebras, wildebeest, like very group of different species. And the reason for it is because they mostly don't feed on the same thing, or they don't feed at the same grass level. One of them will eat the top part of the grass, some of them will eat the bottom part of the grass, some of them will eat the roots of the grass like warthogs do. And it's a good way of just keeping many more eyes out there, just to make sure that you can see around, see what's happening, and in case any of them finds anything, they would start making an alarm call that would alert everyone around here. So everybody would raise their heads up and then just start looking around, trying to figure out what's happening or what is it that caused this sudden change of energy. Busy grooming. Or maybe there's a bit of an itch with a tick over there. Hello, girl. You see, they just keep staring at us. They obviously know that we are no threat. But it is funny to notice, if you go to areas where animals haven't seen vehicles as much, or perhaps even hunting areas, then as soon as they see a car, they will also start running. So we are quite blessed around here just to see them as relaxed as they are. And I know we tend to get a bit biased to impala because we see them all the time and they're always there. But imagine that in some areas they don't even have impala to look at. So even in that regard, we are quite lucky. Alright, we're gonna leave these girls there by themselves because I think they're having a bit of an early morning. It's Monday, maybe they haven't put their makeup on, so we're just gonna leave them to it and see what else we can find around this road. Seems like this is our lucky road. We haven't lost signal. Yay, we're so excited. But while we carry on looking for whatever this road may lead us to, why don't we go back to Tristan? who's going to owe me a lot of coffee.
Well, look at this, guys. Isn't this incredible? We've got Thandi and her cub Tumba together on this fallen over tree, and isn't that absolutely beautiful, the two of them together? Now, I think they've got a carcass here somewhere, but they are posing perfectly on this fallen over tree for us, and it is the most beautiful sighting of the two of them. And it seems like the little cub is giving Mom quite a bit of trouble. She keeps going up and wanting to play, and she's not in the mood for it at all. Now, I'm just going to try and reposition ourselves, because it seems like we're not on the best side of where this all is. It will be a much better view from the other side, I think. So we're going to just try and go around and just reposition. But isn't this spectacular? Now, I'm so excited because this is the first time that I've seen little Tumba. Now, I know that Thandi is a female that we see a lot of, and I've seen her many times, but every time I tried to come and see this little cub, unfortunately it would just disappear. So I've yet to have a good sighting of it, which means that today is the first time, and that is amazing. So I'm super happy about it, and I'm really excited to see him. He is an absolutely beautiful male. His ears are massive. He's got those sort of big eyes. He's typical Thandi offspring. He looks a lot like what Wabayiza looked like when he was a youngster. So it's super cool to see this little one. And he now completes my sort of lineage for Thandi, because I had seen Kuchava before, and now it was just little Tumba that I hadn't seen. So I'm just trying to get around here. It's not in the most friendly of places. You can see it's very thick and the grass is very long. So hopefully they stay on top of their little fallen over tree, because if they don't, it's going to be very difficult to see them. Now, they should be just around this corner. Hopefully. That's the theory anyway. No, don't say you've come down. Have both of you come down? It looks like they've come down from their tree. Oh no, there he is. You can just see the little ears sticking up out of the tree itself. So I'm just going to go in here, which should be perfect. But I think they've got a kill here. So the guys tell me that there is a kill somewhere here. I haven't seen it anywhere, but I believe there is a kill in this area somewhere. I'm hoping that we don't disturb Thandi, because I can't see where she's gone. There's little Tumba just poking his head over the branches, looking at us. Look at him, isn't he pretty? And look at the size of those ears. They are absolutely massive. But like I say, it's quite typical for Thandi's offspring. All of her young males that I've seen have all had these massive ears like this and big eyes. They really are quite cute when they're this age. Hello, my boy. I think Thandi must be below him there, somewhere in the long grass that he's busy watching. Isn't that interesting? He's busy actually sniffing where she was kind of lying down, and I think he can pick up the scent of her, and he was phlegm and grimacing, so he was actually kind of scenting her and working out if it's Mom and what her sort of chemical signature is. But isn't that beautiful with him in amongst that green foliage? It's just the picture of summer. It's also kind of the camouflage of a leopard in amongst the foliage. It's just something unbelievable. So we didn't get Tingana, but to get the two of them together is really very special. Unfortunately, it's just hiding behind a tree, and it's quite difficult to actually get any sort of way further forward. It's very dense and thick here, and we've got a big termite mound that's in front of us, so I can't go any further forward than where we are now. But I'm hoping that he might come out a little bit and just lie a little bit further out. Given that it is getting a little bit hot, I suppose he's found himself a really good place to lie there, because it's creating a bit of shade on that branch, so it's a perfect place for him just to spend a bit of time this morning. You can see that he is panting quite heavily, and that's all because of the food that he's already eaten. So his metabolic rate or heat is rising because of the amount of digestion that he's having to do of this protein-rich food source that he's had. It means that he has to start breathing a little bit faster to be able to get rid of it. There we go. There's the screenshot for those of you that like screenshots, when he just looks over that branch, over that greenery like that. It's absolutely beautiful. Hello, boy. What are you doing? Look at the size of that tummy. It's absolutely swollen. So wherever this food is, it must be somewhere close by. He's had a good feed. Now he's firmly planted his head inside a little bush. Isn't that amazing? What are you doing? That can't be comfortable at all. I suppose, though, just flop the leg down now. I suppose that's him. He's decided this is where I'm going to be most comfortable. So I believe a lot of you are excited as I am to see little Thamba and Thandi together. And so if you guys have any questions about the two of them, or would like to know anything just about leopards in general, remember you can use the hashtag #SafariLive, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. Now, I'm surprised at how big he is already. Like I say, I haven't seen him ever, even though he's been around for about 9 months now. And every time I used to come here to try and see the little ones, they would cross into Torchwood or would go into an area that I couldn't follow, and it was quite frustrating, but finally gotten to catch up with him, and I think he's going to be a rather big boy when he gets a little bit older. Don't know if he's going to be the same size as Hosana. Hosana seems to be a brute, but he is going to be rather large. He's got massive paws already, and big, strong forelegs. And you could see when he was standing next to Thandi for that brief period of time, was that she's actually about the same size as he is already, and he's only now about 10 months old, so he's a massive individual as well. He's going to be a very, very large boy. Now we think that his So Mr. Bean's teddy bear, you're wondering if these leopards are related to the royal family. Well, indeed they are. So Thandi, who is the mother of Thamba, this little male that we're watching now, is one of Karula's first litters. So it was her and Shadow that were born together in Karula's first litter that she had and raised successfully. So they are the first generation, and so they now are about 11 years old, and Thandi has had quite a few cubs. Her first cub that she raised was Wabayiza, who unfortunately was killed by the sticks. And then I think she had a litter of 2, which was killed. And then she got another litter, which was Kachava, which is a young female we see on Cheetah Plains every now and then. And then she's got now Thamba, which is this boy that we're seeing here. So there were 2 of them to start off with. Unfortunately, one was killed at I think it was about 5 months old when it was killed. So we're not sure what killed it, but there was another one. But this little guy has done super well, and he's now a big boy, and don't think he can really work out where he actually wants to be. But look at the size of his paws now that they're out in the open. If we go down to his paws, you'll be able to see the size of them. If we go down to the paws, to the feet, Senzo. There we go, thank you. Look at the size of them. Absolutely massive. So he's got big feet already, and he's still going to have to grow into them. You are a beautiful boy, that's for sure. Massive individual. And those are only going to get bigger. You can see they're very, very bulky already. It's very nice. Often you look at a leopard's paws and you can kind of work out a little bit how big they're going to be later in life, because the bigger they are when they're younger, the more they're going to grow into them. And so you already will sort of see the size that he's going to be. And he's actually already got a little dewlap developing. He's going to be much like Tingana in that respect. So Tingana's got a massive dewlap, even when he was younger, when he was sort of 6-7 years old, Tingana had this huge dewlap, and I think Thamba is going to have the same story. We do think that Tingana is the father of Thamba, but we can't be 100% sure. And there's also quarantine around in this area. There's Shavambalan, Mvula has been around, so it's difficult to say exactly who. But isn't he pretty? Look at those eyes and those ears. Absolutely beautiful. Generally, we try and apply a name to the animal, well, give the chance to the lodge where the animal is born. So in this case, Thamba was named by the Chitwa guides because he was actually born under one of the decks of the rooms at Chitwa. And so they get kind of first priority, and then it goes into this sort of meeting, and everybody just has a sort of a hear of what the name is, and if it's not really applicable, then they go back to the drawing board and get another one. But that's generally how we do it. So it's where the animal is born. That's how we try and get them. Now I'm going to just try and go forward a little bit because there's actually quite a nice gap. But I just don't know how far we can go. Right, so while we try and find our little position here, let's go back to Ali, who I believe has got a wildebeest, which is something that this young male will be able to hunt at a later stage.
We have a wildebeest indeed, and he has found his position in this open area. He seems to be quite alert of something around here. I don't know if perhaps more than a possible predator, there was something, another male, maybe a herd of females around that he's busy looking at. You see, he took a few steps and then changed the direction of his head. So I wonder what he can see or smell that we can't just yet. Now, I believe that Brent has tried to name all of the wildebeest GNU, or there's only one. I'm not too sure about it, but it does seem like an appropriate name for all of them. And his coat is looking quite shiny tonight. Well, tonight, you see I'm still asleep. Today, and makes you wonder. Sometimes they look more like zebras if you don't actually see them properly. Look at that beautiful day that we have today. It's finally cool. You see all the cloud cover on the top. To me, this is one of the most iconic African sceneries ever. You'll have the wildebeest, hopefully somewhere lying around. You know, the extra bonus would be a lion stalking them. But this is pretty much as good as it gets. So the wildebeest are also those fantastic creatures that you see cruising around in Kenya and the Masai Mara that do those massive migrations just looking for water. Down here in southern Africa, because we have a bit more water available, they don't have to migrate from one area to the other. But you might find that during winter, which is fast approaching now, as we can finally feel in the air, they'll move a little bit from where they are normally based, just to where they can find slightly bit more of water. Oh, there's a bit of an edge there. Hello, boy. I don't think he's that awake yet, because he was feeding and now he's just not too sure of what he wants to do. I have a strong feeling he wants to go to sleep. But look at that beautiful scenery. Oh my goodness. Now, he would normally be by himself, because male wildebeest, as they get older, they try to, like a lot of the males around here, they try to establish their own territory. And just make sure that they're able to hold water and a few females just around where they are, just to be able to mate with them when the appropriate season comes. I think he's just curious with us. Nothing too bad. See a lot of flies moving around. You see his tail moving and then the legs going up and down. Too many things bothering him. Do you want to come? Do you want to go? It's not an easy day for him. Right, I just want to go slightly back and see if maybe we can have a look at this other four tiny creatures that I can see from here that are just very close to the wildebeest. So hopefully we won't go off-road. So do you see there on top of the mount? Just to feed from what we saw yesterday. Hopefully we'll be able, yes. So it's a bit of a tough one because unfortunately they're a bit far away, but those ones over there, they're dwarf mongoose, just like the tiny little one we saw yesterday. Very, very close to the wildebeest, just on top of a termite mound. But I think unfortunately there's a bit too much grass just around there. And they're also just starting their day, coming out, enjoying a bit of the sun, trying to get a bit of vitamin D, get all of their metabolism going. And then I'm sure they'll likely be going foraging close to where this wildebeest is. But it's just funny how they're just above the grass. Okay, while we try and figure out what this wildebeest is thinking, because it doesn't seem to be too clear at the moment, let's go back to a smaller thing that Tristan's got on his own.
Well, it is absolutely beautiful. Look at this little male who's trying to catch flies as he's sitting perched on this tree. It is absolutely beautiful. Couldn't ask for a better first introduction to this little boy. Isn't that amazing? Looks like he's taking it very easy. Shame, it must be difficult when your tummy is full and you've eaten too much. but really for us that is absolutely spectacular. Now, I forgot to mention earlier when we were asking about naming of these cubs, this little one, oh, isn't that incredible? Isn't he stunning? Look at those markings around his eyes. So this little guy was actually was named through our TV shows that we do with Nat.Geo. And so what happened was we got the names from Chitwa, and then there was a vote as to see which name all of you in the general public liked, and Tumba was the one we settled on. Now, for those of you who don't know what Tumba means a boulder, and that's because he was born under a suite called Boulders at Chitwa. So it's one of their suites is named Boulder, and that's where it comes from. So that's where his name is. But I think it fits him. It's a nice name. I like Tumba, and he really is a beautiful cat. He's just got that typical sort of Thandi offspring look. Wabayusa had a very similar nose structure. Look at him trying to catch flies. Isn't this amazing? What are you doing, silly boy? Well, I think he almost fell out the tree there. Now, where are you going? Come back. Don't go back into the thicket. That's incredible. There we go. Now we've just got a tail sticking out and an ear on the other side. I'm sure he will change position again. But there's that nice, beautiful long tail that they use to be able to balance and to be able to climb so effectively. It just helps with the counterweight and for them to be able to find a sort of comfortable place to lie and to help with going up and down of trees. And you'll also find that there's a little paw sticking out the bottom there as well. There it is, just hanging down, just to make things more comfortable. He seems to be getting annoyed by the flies quite a bit, and that's maybe why he's gone up into the tree, is just to actually get away from the flies a little bit. But it's not the biggest tree in the world, and so I don't think he's going to have too much luck. Now, in front of us is actually where the carcass is. So I've just spotted the carcass just on the termite mound here. So it looks like a young kudu. There we go. So there's the leg, and you can see a bit of the meat sticking out there. So I think it's a young kudu that they've managed to bring down, which is a Thandi special. So Thandi always is after kudu. For some reason, the area that she occupies is a high density of kudu. You can see the thickets that we're in here is very, very dense. And so kudu are quite abundant in this area. And she's just worked out the technique to be able to hunt them. Now, this is quite a small kudu, but I have seen Thandi bring down a fully grown female kudu, which is probably about, I would say, 6-7 times her body weight. So you can imagine how much power there is in that little leopard to be able to pull down an animal of that size. She unfortunately then lost it to hyenas, but just for her to be able to bring down such a large kudu was absolutely mind-blowing to me, and we managed to see the whole thing take place, so it was quite incredible. And I don't know where she's disappeared to. She was with Tumba on the branch. We went round, and I can't see her now. I thought maybe she was lying on this side of the termite mound where the carcass is, but I don't see her. Maybe she's gone off to go and have a drink, or she's just found the thicket to lie in. This area is so dense that it's so difficult to see anything. You can see how thick it is. Now, our little Tumba has plopped himself down rather in a bad spot for us, and all we've got is a foot and a tail hanging down there. Now, if you didn't know any better, it would almost look like he's not alive. I can show you he is very much alive. You can actually see how much he's panting by the movement of his foot. So that's him trying to breathe to cool himself down, and it's actually making his foot move quite a bit. It's almost like he's tapping his foot to a song. I wonder if he's kind of just sitting and daydreaming, being a young boy. You know how it is when you're a youngster. You tend to daydream about all kinds of things. So we're going to sit with these guys a while longer because it's just so fantastic to be able to see him and spend time with him, and I'm hoping he's going to come out a bit. And while we do that, let's go to our other daydreamer, James Henry, on Bushwalk.
Believer to a homecoming queen. Cheer up, sleeping. We're actually trying to find a leopard right now. We came on the car to these pans off Shibamu Road, and as we came off the road, Viam said, "Stop, leopard tracks." So Herbert said, "No, they're old tracks." So Viam said, "No, they're not, Herbert." So we got off the car and we looked, and indeed they are not old. The actual leopard. The leopard is here. Oh my goodness. It's Xongile's tracks. And presumably Xongile herself. Okay. Oh, there she is. Well done, Wildebeest. And she just doesn't pay any attention to us whatsoever. Oh, this is just too wonderful. Hello, my dear. How are you? I have missed you greatly. Greatly. We have so much to talk about. Missed your mother. I want to know how your brother's doing. I had no idea that Herbert actually had found her. He did his good, the bad, and the ugly whistle, and I thought that meant that he'd found the tracks. So we came through here, and there she is. And there's a lovely shot of her from here, if you want it. Now, if you are a new viewer, what we have experiencing here is not something that happens every day. We're sitting with a leopard who is now probably 15 meters from us. She is completely and absolutely relaxed with our presence on foot. That's not common. Yes, it does happen, and from time to time leopards, especially if they're raised around human beings, in other words, so not domesticated or in captivity, but raised around human beings, they stop seeing us as a threat. Now she's moving off. Something has bugged her. I'm not sure what it is. She might be about to stalk something. I think she's stalking something. She could be trying to move out of the way of us. But she's so relaxed around human beings, it is quite astonishing. I mean, she's viewed us on foot from when she was a very tiny baby. And so she's just very, very relaxed. I'm not sure why she disappeared there. I'm just going to look. There were some buffalo around here. Have you got her there? I'm just going to look in the background just to see if she hasn't spotted something coming this way. Now, a sighting like this, of course, is not to be taken for granted. You know, she's not looking anywhere near us. She's looking down through the way here. Maybe her brother's around? What can you see? Sweet, sweet girl. Ah, wow. And just to give you an idea of how relaxed she is, Herbert once, I didn't respond to the whistle quickly enough. He actually just shouted. He said, "Come, I've got her." And she just didn't react. What do you think, Herb? She's very relaxed, but she's just looking for something. Well, Rebecca Smith, you say she's desperate for company. I don't know if she's desperate for company. I think every leopard eventually becomes a little bit like me, and that means that, well, you're just very happy to be on your own most of the time. And that's exactly what they do. They like the company of their mothers and their brothers when they're little, and then they get a little bit older, and they start to be much less comfortable being around their siblings and their parents, and just move very slowly, Vumpy. And I think, I wonder whether that will be the situation with us. Will she eventually decide that we aren't very pleasant to be around in much the same way that hyenas do? We know, of course, that hyenas as babies, love to be around the vehicles, chewing the vehicles. They come right up, they'll put their noses on them. As soon as they hit puberty, however, they become much more reticent, and you won't get within sort of 5 or 6 meters of them before they'll move off. And I hope she doesn't do that. Tristan shares the story of Salayesha, who we've never seen, I don't think, and she lives at Simbambili. And Salayesha apparently gave birth to cubs underneath one of the rooms at Simbambili, and even then had no reaction to people. She'd suckle them in front of people on foot walking past her in the camp. And I believe we have seen Salayesha twice. Once with Sam and once with Brent. So I don't know what she's looking at over there, but it's not us. She spotted something in the grass there. And the other thing about a sighting like this is that it's not to be taken lightly, in that you don't want to break this trust, because this trust could be very easily broken by a false move, by a fast move, by not reading her body language correctly, it's a very tenuous link that's going on here, and it's a tenuous relationship, and will probably remain tenuous for the rest of its existence, in that one thing that we do that frightens her will break the spell that exists between her and us. Right, we are now going to head across to her first cousin, Tamba.
Well, indeed, it is her first cousin, and we've had quite a lot of luck with the sort of royal lineage in the last few days. It's now just the queen herself that we need to find, and hopefully she's going to pop up at some stage soon. But otherwise, we've really kind of completed most of the royal family. It's just we need to try and find Shadow and her cub, and we will have seen them all in the last 3 days, which is really quite spectacular. We've had a very good run with leopards. Now you can see he's tucked himself deep into this false marula. It's very difficult to see him. So Steve, you're wondering if Shadow and Thandi interact with each other. Unfortunately, I've never actually seen the two of them together, and the reason why is that Thandi ended up being southeast of Karula's territory and Shadow southwest. Now, in the beginning stages, when the two of them first went independent, there used to be 2 other females in this area, or 3 other females in this area, that separated Shadow and Thandi. So you used to have Intima female, then there was Safari, which was Karula's mother, and you would have Ostrich Koppies female. Now those 3 were in the sort of Hofmans, Zittelgari, Chitwa, Vessels, Annette's area, and so Thandi ended up being on Nkoro, Cheetah Plains, Torchwood, and Shadow on Arathusa. As time has now gone on, and Tima, Safari, Ostrich Koppies, they've all disappeared, and then there was Kwatile, she's also now disappeared, and that means that there's this kind of gap. And so I think in time we're going to start to see the two of them kind of pushing more and more towards one another. But as far as I know, I've never heard of the two of them being in a sighting together since they left their mother, or since they became independent and have had their own ones. So they just ended up on different sides of Karula's territory, and that's why they haven't been able to meet up. If Karula, which I don't think she is, but if she has disappeared, then you could potentially see a situation where Thandi would push a little bit, and so would Shadow, and they could then meet. But what I'm hoping is that no matter what happens going forward, is that little Xongile will be able to sort of take over from where Mom is, and hopefully she'll be the one that ends up staying in that sort of central area, and Thandi more this side, and Shadow more onto Arathusa side. Now, this is a very difficult area, so you may hear another vehicle and see a few branches moving in the background. That's just some of the tourism vehicles that are around, that are coming just to see what's going on and make sure that that they get a beautiful sighting of this young male leopard as well. Like I say, I have no idea where Thandi went. She's not at the carcass. I can't see her anywhere, but given that the grass is probably about, I would say, almost chest high in places here, being such a small little female, she could easily have hidden somewhere here, and that's why we can't see her. So unfortunately she's disappeared, but we did get that brief little sighting of the two of them on top of the tree together. Right, so I think what we're going to do is carry on. There are a few more vehicles that want to come and have a look. We've had a wonderful sighting of this little boy, and so we're going to head on out and see what else we can find. And while we do that, I believe Ali has something spotted of her own.
Well, the spotted things are definitely our current theme. So we've managed to find a garden orb web spider, which is probably one of the biggest spiders around, the most iconic ones that we get throughout the summer. In this case, this particular beauty over here, it's a girl. And as with spiders do, all girls tend to be bigger than males, especially for this one. Now, I'm gonna try and point you guys into one of the most remarkable things that the spider does. Because I think Craig and I were trying to look at it from the vehicle, and then we lost it, and then we came back out, and then we found it again. So it just proves how bad our human eyes are in terms of finding this type of stuff. So I just want to make sure that I don't destroy its beautiful web. So she's all the way up here, and she's come down all the way through this invisible line, and just down here, this is where the center of the web is. So we've got over here a male just waiting for an opportunity to either mate or have a free scrap of food. And then over here you see there's a zigzag. Don't follow my finger. That's rude. Go like this, bloop, 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 bloop. And this is the way that this particular species of spider advertises the presence of her web. Because, you know, building this spider web and trying to silk everything, it's just quite hard, and it's consuming, and it takes a lot of protein, and put it in James' words, is expensive for the spider to manage to build this thing. So in doing so and just zigzagging it in the middle, it advertises the position of the web for other bigger creatures like us, so not to disturb it and walk in the middle of it, and just for her to have to start over the whole process again. I don't think we'll be able to see it from there, but rest assured, it does seem that she's got a little insect down here at the bottom, and then it's been already consumed, so I'm sure she's quite happy up there where she is. So it is quite nice to find one of these ones nowadays, because our beautiful summer days are starting to go away slowly but surely. So it's good to see them around. Haven't seen too many this summer. So between them and the golden orb webs, which are the ones also very, very big spiders, but their web is golden or of a golden color, hence the name, they've been missing all around. But it's always good to see them and just know that at least some of the typical signs of summer are all around here. Oh, I just need to plug myself in. Do you see how steady she is? She's not moving. It's a very good hunting strategy. Any vibration in the web or anything will attract her very, very quickly to the middle, and then she'll know that all her patience has been successful. While we carry on playing the game of patience over here with this spider, let's go over to James and see what our pretty spotted little one is up to.
It's very, very, very special. She's just walked past us. Don't know where she's going to go. Maybe she's going to go to Treehouse Dam, is what Herbert reckons. We've just been sitting here. She's been sat there. We're going to move very slowly and see if we can't follow her. But it looks to me like she might be stalking. And perhaps her brother's there. She stopped. Can you still see her, Vim? I can see her tail. She's just behind this bush. Where can you see which way she's looking? She's looking at us. I'm reticent to make too many moves, like sort of standing up. So what I'm going to suggest, Vim, rather than all of us standing up, why don't you just see if you can stand up gently and see what she's looking at? One at a time kind of thing, as opposed to in a group. She's what? She's looking the other way. Okay, I'm going to stand up now as well. And as I say, we could probably all just stand up and it'd be absolutely fine. She's looking at me now. But we just don't want to break this spell. We don't want to break this trust. Right, now she's moving. She's going to pop up there. Yeah, there she goes. She's still very small, you know. She's a little dainty thing. I promise if you got hold of her there, she wouldn't be vaguely dainty. Right, well, I think we should follow her. What do you think, Herb? Sorry about the scraping of the microphone. I'm just putting my bag back on. Can you see her, Val? I think she's going to go straight out onto the road here that goes... There she is. Kyle, you say, is she the most relaxed leopard on foot? Certainly around here, absolutely she is. Her mother's not bad, but her mother would be much more wary. Her father is not nearly as relaxed as this on foot, and Xongile, at least Hosana, isn't either. She's, I'm not sure what your response to this is going to be. She looks a lot to me. She's like Jamie. She's got that same kind of elegant, long-legged build. There's nothing buff about her. Oh, she's trotting down the road. There she goes. I cannot tell you what this is like, everyone. It is just, it's beyond privilege. And, you know, it's got to the stage where she's got so comfortable with us on foot that the novelty of being on foot with her, while it will never wear off, we can, of course, be talking about her actual behavior now rather than, oh, should we move, shouldn't we move? And I think that's wonderful. We're going to continue following her towards Treehouse Dam. Thamba, I believe, is perched on a tree.
Indeed, so from small and dainty to complete brute and big and clumsy, little Thamba has been flopping around this tree. We're about to leave him, and the other vehicle that was coming decided not to come, and he then got up, so it seemed like a good reason to stay. Now, Thandi is on the other side of the termite mound, and she is not a happy girl at all. This vehicle that just arrived, she decided that she was not going to take kindly to them coming close, and so she's been growling on the other side of the termite mound. So all I can hear is this growling coming from the other side, and it's quite funny because the tracker on that vehicle got an absolute fright, and he's decided that it's better not to be anywhere near her. So I wonder if she's not going to now come towards where Thamba is and maybe up onto the tree just to check that he's okay. Often she's like this, is she gets a little bit aggressive just because she doesn't know exactly where her baby is, and there's a car that might be between her and the young one, and that's why she's like that. With Thandi and Shadow, they both have this characteristic that they can sometimes be a little bit on the aggressive side, but I find if you give them a bit of space and you let them do their thing, then generally they're okay. I've very seldom had any issues with either of them. It's just when you get between them and their young ones. So if you can avoid being between them, then she's generally okay. So I'm sure she'll calm down now. She's also got a carcass that's still on the ground, so that's going to make her a little bit more grumpy too. But isn't he beautiful? I reckon he's going to be a stunning male when he's older. Once he grows into those ears a little bit, he's going to be absolutely beautiful. So G1, you're wondering who's bigger, him or Hosana? Well, I think Hosana is still bigger. To be honest, I haven't spent much time with Hosana. In yesterday morning when I did see Hosana, he was chasing warthogs, and all I was seeing was the top of his head running through long grass. But I think he is slightly bigger than Thamba. But I think Thamba is also going to be a massive individual. If you see his two front paws now in relation to the size of his head, so if we just come out slightly there, you'll see, look at the size of those. Those are massive, massive, massive. I mean, they're almost the same size as my hand already. So he's going to have big, big, big feet, which means I think he's also going to be a large boy. But I think he's slightly smaller than Hosana, definitely around the face. Hosana's got a very bulky face already, so I think he's slightly smaller in that regard. So, Mr. Bean's teddy bear, you're wondering in a few years' time if Thamba or Hosana could overthrow Tingana. Well, yes, it's likely they could do that, but in all honesty, I think they probably both are going to be pushed away and are going to end up being dominant males somewhere else. You must remember that currently you've got Anderson male that's pushing more and more east from the western side, who is a massive individual and is not old at all. He's still got probably another 3-4 years in him, which is when these guys are going to be starting to become young males and looking for territories. You've also got Quarantine, who's a young male, who's going to be able to chase these guys away. There's Shavambalana, who's not old either. So it's going to be a situation where you're going to find that there's a lot of other males already here, and these guys are going to be pushed out while they're still small and young and become nomadic. Now, it's possible that they could end up back here a little bit later and challenge for a territory, but I think it's quite unlikely with the number of males that we have here at the moment. But isn't he spectacular? I think this is one of my favorite young males that we have around. His markings are just incredible. He seems to have this very dark sort of lines underneath his eyes that bring out his eye color hugely, and he almost got the same eyes that Mvula had when he was a bit younger, those sort of light colored eyes. Very, very pretty indeed. Now, hopefully he will look back on our direction, because it was quite a nice picture when he was looking that way. But you can see his markings are very, very, very dark. He's got these very dark black markings, which makes him very sort of contrasted and very, very pretty. There's that fast breathing that you can see, and then that short little muzzle, which is typical of the royal family kids. They've all got it. So Thandi, Shadow, Shavinzi, Shavambalana, Duna, Mishu, Tamba, they've all got these small sort of stout noses. It's an interesting sort of family trait that they've got. And you can see now he's having a little rest on his paw, so that gives you an idea of just how big that paw is. It's pretty much the same size as his entire muzzle. Got a lot of growing to do, my boy. But I think he's found himself a nice comfortable spot. It seems like he's got his foot in the right place. He realized Mom is now no longer grumpy, and so I think he's going to chill now. The sun is also coming out, so it's going to get very hot in the next, I would say, half an hour or so. So he's found himself the perfect place to enjoy this bit of sunshine. Or a bit of shade, sorry, should I say, when it's hot. Very, very cool. And see how his ears are moving every now and then, just listening to what's going on around him. So even though they are fast asleep, you will find that cats do tend to stay awake a little bit, enough to hear what's going on in their environment, especially when they're around food. They're going to have to be careful. Now, I know that there was somebody that had tracks for a big male coming towards this carcass, so maybe this afternoon it's going to be a good place to come and check. You never know, maybe Quarantine is here with them. It should be very, very interesting, and so that's why he needs to listen out to be able to pick up if there's any signs of potential danger, like another male leopard. Right, well, we're going to sit a little bit longer just in case Thandi appears, and while we do that, I believe Ali has something that grows on the ground that is not very common.
True to summer, we've found another little hidden gem in a pile of elephant dung. So this is one of my favorite summer things, because fungus and plants in general, they just have such hidden lives, you know, secret lives that we don't really know anything about, and it's always good to find them. So I just want to tell you guys a bit more about this particular fungus over here. I cannot remember the name exactly. I want to say it belongs to the Chlorophyllus group, and I believe its common name it's the bushcap fungus, but I could potentially be quite wrong. So if you guys have any suggestions or any way of IDing it and helping me out, hashtag Safari Live, and then we'll be able to get all the comments in. Now, I nearly fell into all the dung and squashed everything. Now, this particular pile that we've got here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 fungus growing in here. But what's really, really amazing about this is the fungus obviously doesn't grow from the elephant dung. So it's just found an appropriate habitat in the elephant dung, and likely it was the spores on the fungus, because they don't reproduce like other plants and other trees. You won't have a bee that will, you know, come, or a pollinator or anything else. They have spores which are, imagine, just little speckles of dust that when the conditions are appropriate and the wind starts blowing, they just flutter around all over and then just land on the vegetation. So in what's happened in this case is that an elephant somewhere around here, maybe just a bit further away, has eaten some of the vegetation where a previous fungus, or the mother fungus for all of this ones, all of her spores landed. So once that happened, going through the digestive tract of the elephant and with all the little enzymes and everything that's inside of their stomach, it finally came out in the form of dung. Now, the elephant's stomach is not able to dilute the spores or destroy them, and hence they come out, and when it's very, very hot and warm, and in the summer times, you can imagine the pile of dung as it lands on the floor, it's quite humid and hot, and, you know, we see it steaming, and yeah, let's just not get a bit more graphic than that. It finds a very good habitat to grow. So surely you see this pile is quite old, but the fungus have kept growing, just trying to get a bit more towards the light. And the more they go towards the light, the more they can become bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, what is interesting about this particular fungus, and we normally tend to see them and just kick them because, you know, you wouldn't really be concerned about them, but they have such an important role in all of this habitat in this ecosystem. Now, in the planet itself, you will have lots of different things, and a lot of them we can make artificially. But minerals is one of the things that we cannot. And trust me, humans have tried to just create them in a lab. I'm sure maybe in 50 years, 100, 1,000 we'll be able to make them, but for the time being, I think nature is still winning. They'll be so their particular job is to return all the nutrients that are still found in the dung, all the minerals and everything else, to the soil, just to make sure that everything that's been taken returns so that new things can grow and so that the process can carry on. The elephants will have vegetation to carry on feeding, and all of the little creatures will have more and more and more. Which is always quite, to me, it's just interesting how everything connects and how the little things end up having such an important role, and we tend to overlook them. In this particular case, I think I'm not too sure if their job is going along as planned. There's still quite a bit of dung to be broken down, but I'm sure with a bit more time, they'll manage to just bring it down and return all those nutrients to the soil so that other things can grow. All right, we're gonna try not to drive over it. There we go, so that we leave it undisturbed. Right. While we carry on looking for other beautiful summer treats that we might find along this road, let's go back to James and see how close Xongile came to say hello.
We have Xongile now eating her breakfast. She's standing about 10 meters from us, and we think she's eaten probably an old tortoise. Don't think there was much to it. So now she's moving on. She's kept heading towards Treehouse Dam, and she got a little bit protective over her little meal. So we'll give her just a few meters, and then we'll probably head out onto the road and see if we can't catch her coming out that side. As I say, you've just got to be so careful that the spell is not broken, and the best way to do that is allow her to approach us. So not to try and push it by getting close to her. If she's moving away in that direction, well, then we'll keep our distance and keep following, but we're not going to try and push a distance or push closer to her. There is the road. Here she comes, out onto the road. And also making sure that as we follow her, she knows where we are. So not behaving like a predator, hiding behind bushes, seeking cover, not trying to be too silent, at the same time making sure that my voice and Viam's voice and Herbie's voice are very much controlled, calm, cool, because although she may not necessarily pick up on the tone precisely, what we do when we talk in a quiet manner, and if we talk in a relaxed manner, our body language immediately becomes relaxed, and that she would absolutely pick up on. And of course, obviously you don't want to make too much noise. Sudden noises, sudden loud noises in the wild are almost always signs of aggression or alarm. So a soft, soothing way of speaking and a gentle, quiet way of walking in the open should put her at ease. And we'll go as far as the waterhole with her. That's Treehouse Dam. And then we'll head back to fetch our vehicle and head home. I'm not going to push it too much with her. I'm not going to push it at all, because she has shown such amazing trust with us. We'll just have a look around the corner here. Diane, you're saying we're seeing more leopards because of Karula's absence. No, I don't think so at all. Thandi is in her territory at the moment with Tamba. That's their haunt, that's where they hang around. I think they aren't found very often simply because they spend a lot of time on Torchwood. Torchwood has very little activity on it, and so I think that's why they're not found very often. I think that these two leopard cubs have spent equal amounts of time around this area and on Little Gari. We obviously aren't allowed to go onto Little Gari, which is to the south of us. So no, I don't think that we're seeing more leopards because Karula's not around. Her absence certainly won't be affecting the male leopards and where they're spending time. She's not on the road anymore, but her tracks are still on the road. So we'll keep trying to find her. And there we go. In the meantime, let's go across to the other leopard cub, because when it rains, it pours.
Well, we're not with the leopard cub. We've decided to leave Tamba to his own devices, and I thought some of you may want to see Thandi, and there she is. So she's now put her head behind a tree, unfortunately, so I'm just going to go forward a little bit so we can still see her, but she is resting peacefully in the shade near her carcass, just to keep a close eye. Now, there we go. We should be able to see her through there. See her beautiful little face. She's one of my favorite leopards of all time, so look at her. There she is, just sneaking through the grass. You can just see those little eyes watching us very carefully, making sure that we're not up to no good. Hello, my girl. Now you can see that her bottom canine on the left side is slightly worn these days as she's getting older. Unfortunately, this is what happens with their teeth, is the teeth do break every now and then, so it's a little bit hidden by the grass, but they feed on bones and things, and every now and then they just get a sort of tip that breaks off. It's nothing to worry about. She's still, as you can see, very effective in hunting, and so everything is okay. Now, I know that she was in a fight yesterday. Well, I believe she was fighting with another female yesterday morning, and she doesn't seem as though she's got any signs of any damage at all. She's got no cuts around the face that I can see. She seems to be walking fine. When she was up on the tree, she was moving okay, so it seems like she's absolutely unscathed from that. So I don't know how intense that fight must have been. Maybe it was just a coming together of two females, and there was a little bit of growling and hissing like there sometimes can be, and then she just left it alone and they carried on in their own way. But either way, both of them are safe, happy and healthy. They've got a carcass, so even if she is a little bit stiff or sore if she did fight, she's got a few days now where she can rest and just take it easy. The nice thing for her is this area has got very little hyena pressure, so she's not going to have to worry too much about hyenas. She can just take it nice and easy and rest up during the days and get lots of nutrients back into her body and get rid of any sort of stiffness or lactic acid buildup that she's developed from being very active and fighting. But like I say, if she did have any sort of signs of it, she hasn't shown it by the fact that she's killed a kudu and she's dragged it up onto that termite mound. She really has done a good job. So she looks absolutely fine, and you can see she's just trying to catch a bit of the breeze, just trying to get some of the grass out of her face, also panting quite heavily, same as what Tamba is. And one is because it's gotten a lot warmer all of a sudden, and two is because of that very full belly that they've both got. They seem to have eaten quite a bit of the sort of rump area of that kudu, and both of them will have quite full tummies. Alright, my girl. But isn't she beautiful? You can see the resemblance between her and Tamba. They look very similar. Both got those sort of dark markings around the eyes and the nose. Now, interestingly enough, some of you may have thought or heard that you can age a cat by the color of its nose. I don't know if any of you noticed, but Tamba's nose is fairly dark in coloration. It's not a very light nose that you would see. His is already starting to go very, very black, and so I've seen leopards like Shadow, who are 11 years old with pink noses, and then leopards that are a year old with very dark black noses. So it's not an accurate way to age an animal or to age a cat. Alright guys, but I think we're going to leave her in peace and leave him in peace and let them enjoy their kuru carcass. We've been absolutely spoilt by being around with them this morning. It's been such a pleasure to spend time with the two of them. Any time I get to spend with Thandi is always a good time. So very, very happy with that. And I don't want her to get upset with us being around. So we're going to leave her and let her have the morning to herself and come back this afternoon and see what she's up to and whether or not that male whose tracks were coming this way has ended up here. Now, as we carry on and forge our way back home for a bit of brekkie of our own, let's go across to Ali, who I believe is also slowly starting to make her way home for breakfast.
A little bit of brekkie does sound quite yummy this morning. I think maybe I could get away with making Tristan make something nice. Oh, well, hello, babblers. Let's see if we manage to get some of them around here making their usual rackets. Although I think they've flown away. I see them in there. I think there's one just in front, Craig. Have you? Yes. Oh, okay. Well, that's unfriendly of you. Well, I don't know if you guys managed to get a bit of a glimpse over there. It seems like we have a bird party around here. Some canaries and some babblers and drungos. But they're all busy in between the branches of the trees. So I'm just going to try and see if maybe we can find something a bit better. It is that time of the day, apparently, where everyone wants to just have something to eat. Cannot really blame them. We came to check up on the other tiny spotted creatures, the little hyenas. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they were out. We checked as well this morning before the gremlin attack. But I think if the parents are not around, they are just not going to come around due to safety. It's getting hot, so not too bad. They're busy just keeping safe, I suppose. Alright. Let's see. Seems like all of the birds have come out. Just trying to see if we can get a clear view of any of them for you guys. Because they're all rushing from tree to tree, small and little. Let's see. I feel I'm almost Xongile now, trying to stalk the birds so that we can have a view of them. Maybe I should learn a trick or two from her. I was saying to Craig earlier on that we should look for an owlet. We were trying to see if maybe one of the pearl-spotted owlets would be around, because they are also known to hunt during the day, but nothing. Where are you, oxpecker? Nope. Alright. Let's leave the birds that are clearly wanting some privacy this morning. And we'll carry on moving along. Right, I haven't had yet a glimpse of those little hyena cubs, and I'm really excited to try and see them because I've heard so much about the Djuma clan, and Tristan was very excited when he first started here, and he said that there was a hyena den, because where we used to work previously there was a massive clan, I think maybe about 40 of them, and it was always quite interesting to see them. They would always come to the lodge, and if you dared to leave boots or anything out, you know it would be hyena food straight away. So it's one of the things that I'm looking forward. And while we carry on looking for any other friendly animals, let's go to James.
We are just having a little bit of a listen here. There are birds alarm calling. She walked off into the block there. We came round on the road to see if we wouldn't pick her up again, but we decided we weren't going to follow her through the block. So Herbie's just gone to have a quick look there. We're basically on our way back to the vehicle, but let's see if she hasn't crossed the road here. There's definitely a lot of alarm calling, and I think what she's done is crossed the road behind us, and that we'll find her dainty little tracks going into the bush over here, down towards Twin Dams. I'm not going to follow her anymore, just because I think she's been very confiding to have us follow her. It's very different from her choosing to approach us. And so she's allowed us to follow her for a while, And let's not push it too much. Yeah, there are birds are going crazy here. I'm sure she's in the drainage here. We'll just take a little walk through here. This is so cool. This is just the most wonderful experience. You're right there, Vumpy. You're right, are you? So we'll just look into the water puddles aside, and then we're going to turn around and make our way out. Again, making sure that she can hear us coming, so that if she wants to, she can move off, or she can stick her head up. Yeah, she's definitely so. There she is. Is that her? It's definitely her. And we've got the animal. Her behaviour is indicating a certain amount of discomfort, which is unusual. That is her, though. Surely. Yes, she's gone out into the open. Ila. We'll just see her at the water. The reason I suddenly said, is that hers? Because she was a bit... She seemed to get a bit of a fright when she saw us. Oh, there we go. Hang on a second. That's definitely her. She is looking skinny, you know. Yes, David, I would agree with you. She does move from waterhole to waterhole. They both seem to, and certainly she goes from Tundams to Baboon Pan, and then across to somewhere into Little Gari. I'm not sure what she does there, and then she comes back up towards the pans where we found her, and then she comes to Treehouse Dam, and then across to Chella Pan, and she does, yeah, she's a little bit like us in that she walks from waterhole to waterhole. These are the haunts, of course, that her mother used to bring her. And a waterhole for an animal is a good place to start to look for food, because there are always going to be lots and lots of things that have to come down to drink, from birds to obviously fish to terrapins, tortoises and that sort of thing. And so a waterhole, and then latterly, of course, the bigger stuff, the Warthogs and the Impala and the Duiker and the Steenbok. So a waterhole is never a bad place for a predator to hang around. I mean, that is priceless. Isn't it wonderful? Now, obviously, she knows we're here. She's just paying attention to what's going on around her. And I think it would be a mistake to try and get any closer than this now. She definitely showed slight irritation when we first picked her up here at the waterhole. And so it would be best just to let her do what she's going to do for the rest of the day. Yeah, I think she'll probably lurk in the shade. She'll go and find somewhere quiet and cool to lie and see what transpires during the day. And she will learn what comes down when, how far away from the water she needs to be to avoid being spotted, and then which paths the animals normally take when they move away from the water. And that is eventually where she will lie in ambush. Right, everyone, that's going to be it from us on our walk today, and indeed for the whole drive. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been great fun, especially the latter parts of it. A big thanks to VM on camera, and of course to all my colleagues who've worked so tirelessly hard to find animals and signal all over the reserve. Well done, chaps. We'll see you this afternoon at 3:30, hopefully with this beautiful animal. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.